That's what I'm saying. It's nothing but sad news because this like next one isn't like fun to talk about, but I think it's like good to raise awareness, especially like for like women and like pregnancies and stuff, because it's things that they don't tell us when like you get pregnant. There's just so many like things that I've learned about pregnancy after I had like the kids. So that's like crazy because you would think that like we would be better informed, especially when it has to do with like our bodies, you know. Um, so yeah, this is like another sad one. This couple gave birth to their baby, but unfortunately during delivery, the baby got decapitated. So like you know, it's exactly what it sounds like. It's not like decapitated is decapitated. There's no like, it's not a partial. It's nothing. It's exactly as terrifying as that sounds. That's what happened. And it's like when I read the, well, it's more like I saw actually. I didn't read the, I read like the caption, but it was more of a, um, what are those things? It was like a news, thing. They had a, what are those things? A conference to like announce that they were going to be taking legal action against like the hospital and the doctor to try to find out exactly what happened. You know, because
Yeah.
unfortunately, the way the couple found out was after the fact. Um, After the fact that she had given birth, because the funeral home, from what I read, is who actually reached out and said like, "Hey, do you know that like say you know the body was like in two pieces?" And they were like, "What?" And because can you imagine hearing that from the funeral home? And apparently like,
Wait.
but instead of like the doctor, like so like
Yeah.
the whole time, right? Like I that's why they're trying to sue, is because they want to know exactly what happened and why they decided to take this route, and to figure out what's like, I guess what's like, what are the facts, right? So they're suing for that reason. Um, but yeah, I was just like, when I heard that, I was like, wait, how did that happen? Because I was like thinking, well, how do you decapitate like while giving birth? Like, how does that happen? But apparently, what happens is like she, when she was like in labor, uh, the baby's head was already out, but it got stuck at their shoulders, and that's like, once they're crowning, that's like really, that's like a tough spot. But then the next part when you need to push is at the shoulders because they're a little bit wider. So apparently they just couldn't. The baby was like too big. It just wasn't I guess coming out in a good angle for them. And so those are things that have to happen really quickly. A decision has to be made to then do a C-section, because like once you're already in labor and giving birth like that, everything needs to happen quickly so that like mom and baby are like safe. So the decision was made C-section, right? Because they're like, well, the baby's stuck. We're gonna have to do a C-section, emergency C-section. And what happens typically, what I read is, let's say it's called, it's because I don't know the word correctly, but when they get stuck at their shoulders, what they're supposed to do is push the baby back up into the birth canal, right? So that on the other side, when they cut the mom open, they can like pull the baby like through this way, outwards this way. Um, I guess from the initial reports, the doctor didn't do that, so they, those forceps, those like clamp looking things, they do use those to like try to help the baby out.
Yeah.
So what they were saying is, I don't think the forceps were involved, but I guess whenever she grabbed the baby to try to like, I don't know if you've ever seen, but like nurses be manhandling these newborns sometimes, so they are a little bit stronger than you would think, right? But anyways, she pulled so hard that, you know I guess like the neck broke. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
But I'm sure obviously what happened, she didn't say anything. So then again, you're supposed to push the baby's head back up the birth canal so they can pull it out through the incision that's made like on the belly. So when that happens, when she's like, she didn't push the head back up. So she like tried to pull the baby like out.
Oh my god.
And like, so the baby's head got stuck
Yeah.
like in the birth canal, right? And so when the like only the body came up. And so then you're supposed to, so okay, after you have the baby, there's the placenta. There's this other thing that's been feeding the baby that comes out after. Like you still have to kind of like sometimes push and then have the placenta come out. So I think that's what they were like trying to say. Like they were like, oh, got the baby, they took him away, right? Then she still gave birth to the head and the placenta, right? And so then they propped the, like, you know how like they wrap them like a little burrito. So they wrapped it so good to where you couldn't tell. Like they propped up the baby so it looked whole, because they did not let the mom see the baby the whole time she was in the hospital. Like she could only see it through like, you know, that NICU area where like they have the babies in like the little their little, what is it, crib thingy?
Incubators?
Yes,
Is that what it
that
is?
or whatever the little clear bed thing is, the where they hold the babies, right?
Yeah.
They in that room where they keep the babies, and they just held the baby up. I'm assuming that they said that the baby must have been born like stillborn, like already dead, because as a mom I'd want to be like, no, let me see my kid,
Right.
right? Like as soon as it's born, because like with all the kids, that's how
Yeah.
they propped them up. And like I got to check to make sure they had all their 10 little fingers, 10 little toes, right? So I'm like, I don't, but because I've never had a C-section, I don't know how that works, because then they still have to like stitch you up, you know? So different procedure, you know? So I don't know 100%, but I do know is that she said she was not allowed to see the baby or hold the baby. They only let her see it through like a glass, like through a window, and they like held the baby up. And I'm assuming they had already said that the baby had passed away, right? So maybe they're like, and that they were pushing for her to have a cremation. They were like, don't do an autopsy, just cremate the baby.
What?
And then so they're like, no, no, no. And they were like really trying to convince her, you know? And that's when, I guess, when the body got sent over to the funeral home, they're like, yo, this baby is like not attached. And then the mom was like, what?
Wow.
And then like they started putting like certain things together to be like, right, is that why they were pushing for a cremation?
Yeah.
You know, because like apparently it's not pretty common, but it's happened in other places where that happens, where they've decapitated. Like, I'm just like, are you serious?
Damn.
Can you imagine giving birth is already traumatic, and then you like that happens? Hell no.
They were trying to avoid a lawsuit and got a bigger lawsuit coming. But that's messed up. At the end of the day, lawsuit or no lawsuit, like, come on.
Well, they killed your child.
No, yeah, I mean,
Like that's
and that's the other thing. Now this is
that's
kind of
like
incriminating,
like a
right?
manslaughter charge at least.
Right.
I'm not saying they were like doing it on purpose. It's like not like, but it's like it's manslaughter. Whether it was like on accident or not, you still killed this child.
Yeah, and then there's that. So
You know, and then you try to hide it, like cover it up.
that's gonna just be worse now.
You know.
Yeah.
And they found who the doctor is. Like, you know, like because they didn't say her name, I guess, at the news conference. Maybe they did. I didn't see that part. But like TikTok fucking found her.
Damn.
And then like other doctors, other OBs have like been commenting on it, but I'm just like, I don't really give a fuck what you're saying, because it's like white women, and like unfortunately this was a black woman, and like there's never enough advocacy for black women when they're giving birth. They're the ones with the highest death rates. So it's just like it kind of re-emphasizes the thing that exactly they never take them like serious when there's like concerns. And then the fact that like I want to say it was a woman of color, the doctor, so that doesn't make it any better, because you would think you'd be wanting to look out for like, because you know what's, as a doctor, I'm sure you know the statistics on stuff like that. So to try to like sit there and try to cover it up, which hopefully the lawsuit just kind of brings everything to light what actually happened, because there's right now a lot of speculation, but they gave enough like information to where it's like, hey, this isn't looking too good for the doc. You know what I mean? So,
Well, and see, I've been understanding this whole time because I have been hearing stories and even from my own daughter, seeing how they do handle infants. Like, you kind of wonder to yourself, like, damn, like, but you're not a doctor, so it's just like,
right, you trust
well,
them.
right, like, hey, and they're just used to it, and that's what they got to do, right?
Right, absolutely.
And I'm feeling like, nah, that's not how it's supposed to be, and that's just us seeing that.
Right,
Like, I want to hear more people talk about that.
right.
Like, do y'all guys, you know, do we all have that in common that they're treating our infants like that?
No, yeah, they're very rough. Like I remember when Junior was born, he was like, you know how like they have like a lot of mucus sometimes when they're like babies, and you have to be
Yeah.
like suctioning it out. Yeah, I just remember he was kind of like starting to cough and like a little bit like choke. So like I rang for the nurse, and she came in, and because like I was like patting him, and I felt like I was already doing it too hard because I'm like, it's a newborn baby, you know, like he wasn't even like a day old yet. And she comes in and like she's like whack whack like just hard as shit, and I was like, yo, like I was like in tears. So I was like, what are you doing to my child? Like, and she like, I remember she like eventually he like coughed it up, which I was like, okay, like relief, right? But I was like, and she told me, I just remember her like, and she's like, babies are very strong, and I was like, this is a newborn, right? And she's like, so she's like, you can use a little bit more force than like you would think. So she's like, you doing like this isn't gonna like, you know how I was patting him. She's like, isn't gonna get the job done. You're gonna need to use more force. But I was like, yo, but it looked fucking like savage the way she was doing it. You know, I was like, I don't know, but I was like, my mom always told me we needed to be gentle with babies. You know, like I don't know how I feel about that. Like I remember I was in tears. I was like, yo,
I'm gonna start asking around more about, women's pregnancy experiences or like giving birth experiences of the baby handling.
right.
I like to know just because of that. Like, yo, did you go through that too, or And then of course I'm gonna have some statistics down of who said yeah, who said no, and what not. Like,
There's women will tell you some shit about like, and it's cool that we can talk about it now to like let other new moms know, because there's like a lot of stuff where I was like, yo, like I don't know if this is right, like, and then to hear that women have like similar or worse experiences like is always just like, and because like I feel there needs to be truth about that, like not saying that every woman needs to go through or has, but like I think it just needs to be talked about more, because I think that once you're like well informed, you're able to make better choices or decisions for yourself. And I think a lot of women, like, that's why after sometimes when they have traumatic births, they're like, I don't want to get pregnant again and have another baby because that was too much. Like, it took a really big toll on, and then, like, you know, the moods, everything is just like, it's obviously it's life changing, but like when you realize how much it can affect your life giving birth, like, and like, yeah, it just like, I think a lot of women would reconsider having children, which is what's happening, because now that they're more informed, that's why women choose to not have children, because they're like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to go through postpartum depression. I don't want to do any of that. Like that just doesn't sound like something that's worth it, you know?
yeah, we just again vanishing at a slow pace.
We need to, though, to be quite honest. We're like terrible to planet Earth, so
Yeah,
it'll be all the better.
yeah.
That was like really dark, but I mean, we're like freaking
That
parasites,
doctor's
you know?
messed up. Yeah, that doctor's messed up. Another doctor's just like
I
her.
wonder if she'll get her license taken away.
No, I mean at this point she has to, right? That's you're trying to hide it.
Well,
And then convince her to have a cremation. Like,
we'll see what the
yo,
lawsuit says, though.
you're trying to get away with murder. Like, you know,
Like if it
or
wasn't
manslaughter, whatever you want to call it.
like,
But still,
well,
you
it's
know,
still
like,
murder though. Like
yeah,
it's
well,
still,
it is
you
now, you
know,
know, like, damn,
it became murder once you try to cover it
for
up. You know what
real.
I'm saying? Like it could have just been a manslaughter thing, but
My
the
gosh.
moment you try to cover it up, like that's malicious intent right there. And everyone involved, not just the doctor, like all the nurses, like the staff, like you know,
Damn.
guilty. Nah, I'm just kidding.
But yeah, man, if this has been going on only to us, like, nah, we gotta change that for real. From this point forward, I'm gonna start asking around and making it an issue. Like, yo, we need better treatment. Literally, that's why I don't want to have an understanding of like, oh, we gotta be handled that way. Like, really, do we? What the fuck? Whatever. I don't know.
I know it's terrible to end it on that, but that's it for this pod. Like,
Yeah,
we out.
we out. It's bad talk.